please call the roll.
Yes. Taylor.
Here.
Lon.
Here.
Howell.
Here.
Cavell.
Got the big.
Smith Charles.
Present.
Spiz.
Here.
Markham.
Here.
You have four.
All right. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up, we have the approval of the December 4th, 2024 minutes. Moved by Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Long.
She said, ooh, okay.
Like a kid, you know, you like, call him.
All right, anybody have any additions or deletions? Let's go ahead and prompt the vote on approval of the minutes.
Get in.
Nothing came from. My screen kind of blinked there. Hold on.
Mr. Smith, can I see your blue ink pen, please?
You may see my blue ink.
Resetting the vote, one moment.
Okay, do again.
There we go. Smith Charles.
Better with the
Yes.
money.
Yes, 68, 0 nays.
Okay,
Yeah,
minutes
same
are
you too,
approved.
right?
Next up, we have the approval of today's agenda,
So moved.
moved by
kinda strange.
Commissioner Taylor, supported by Commissioner Long. Any additions or deletions to today's agenda? Seeing none, let's prompt the vote.
We're still in the other meeting.
Oh, that could.
Oh, that's fine. Smith Charles.
Yes, I'm still in EDI apparently.
Okay, sorry about that. It's 68, 0 nays.
Okay. Agenda is approved.
Okay.
Our next item is public comment. It's for anybody who wishes to address this committee on our agenda items. You would get 3 minutes. If there's anyone here that wishes to speak in public comment, please say so now. Seeing no one, I will close our first public comment and we will move on to item 7, the department recommendations. Item 7A is an extension with Thompson Legal Research for Legal Research Solution.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I need a motion.
Continue.
Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Powell.
How'd you get it?
My watch is.
Oh, and I also want to, before we start, I'll welcome our newest members to the committee, Mr. Spiz and Ms. Taylor.
Yay.
Welcome.
Good to be here. Hope not to cause too much problem.
I don't know, got me shaken when I saw. All right,
Hi, so the courts, the circuit court, probate court, and district courts
Extension, right?
utilize a legal research tool called Westlaw. Westlaw ProFlex is, I believe, how they refer to it in the contract.
before you start, will you go ahead and introduce yourself,
I'm
because
so
we do
sorry.
have some.
Chris Bujak, I'm the manager of court business operations for circuit and probate court. So Thompson's contract was a 3-year contract. It expired last year. We did a 1-year extension. I'd like to, because it really is a single source product, nobody else can sell us this Westlaw research tool. Westlaw has features within it that are far superior to anything else. We have an investment in Westlaw, everybody's happy with it. We have no intention or no desire to leave Westlaw as our legal research tool. However, going year to year on a contract leaves it wide open for price increases, where if we lock in a 5-year contract, we lock in the amount of price increase that they can impose upon us, and it helps us better plan our budget. So what I'd like to do is, instead of, waiting another year, because we could extend that one up to 5 years, and I'd like to just go with a 5-year contract with the Westlaw right now, and By going 5 years, they do reduce the amount of increase they can give us. On a year-to-year contract, they allow an 8% increase, all the way down to 4% per year for a 5-year contract. So that is why I'm here today, is with your permission, we feel this is a single source exception to the bid process because of the uniqueness of the product.
Okay. I will open it up to the commission. Commissioner Powell.
Is it, with an option to cancel, oh, never mind.
We could cancel it 3 years,
Yep,
yes,
that's all I
if we
was going.
decide that, for some reason, we're unhappy with it.
I can, nope, I retract my even wanting to have a question, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Powell, anybody else? I have a question.
Sure.
So this is a sole source. But other courts in the state use something else than this.
Many of the courts use Thompson, but you're right, some do use a product from Lexis, we've heard. Lexis, we had tried here years ago. We try it and they found it did not work as well as Thompson, and there's some unique products that only Thompson has. And I think we haven't mentioned in here at least one of them, the Gillespie Michigan Criminal Law and Procedure. We did check again, Lexis is working on something, as is ICL is working on something, but they don't have a product yet that can replace that Gillespie tool.
I guess that answers my question. I mean, I'm not a sole source fan, obviously.
I'm not either. I like competitive bidding, but this one, we have such an investment in the training of everyone on using the tool. And we have a high user satisfaction rate that I don't know that they would, that a different legal research tool would really make sense to look at something else.
And you don't think there's a chance this is gonna become obsolete anytime soon?
We're working on reducing our print materials and publications like that, but I can't imagine that online legal research will become obsolete.
Okay. Commissioner Cabell.
Forgive me for being late. Hey, Chris.
Hi, glad you made it in time for questions.
Yeah, right. I hope you like this one. Did you already talk about it not just being a sole source, but it being a 3-1-1? Instead of that, it's a 5-year contract?
Yep, it's
Go ahead and
fine.
ask your question.
Okay, well, is there some sort of incentive or
There is.
benefit we get? Okay.
If we just sign a 1-year contract, it's an 8% increase, 2-year, it's a 7, 6, 5. 4 is the lowest on a 5-year contract, so we can lock in the percent increase that they'd be allowed to charge us if we go with that longer term contract. And we do have an option to opt out at 3 years. So we
Okay.
can exit the contract if for some reason we find we're not happy with their product. But the longer term contract really seems to make the most sense to save the county the most money and to
Understood.
help us budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Ms. Bujack? Seeing none, let's prompt the vote.
Yes. There's 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next item is item 7B, creation of 5 accountant 3 positions to support the fiscal services division. I'll take a motion.
Trying to get her support.
Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Taylor.
She thought something was gonna
All
shine.
right, welcome.
Hi,
Hi.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Please introduce yourselves.
I will. Welcome to the new members to the committee. I'm Cheryl Johnson. I'm the Deputy CFO. Next to me is Shannon Lee. She is the Fiscal Services Officer. We're basically the hit the ground running part of Fiscal Services. So what I brought before you today is a humble request for 5 positions for Fiscal Services.
Empire Building. Oh.
Humble.
Yeah, I know.
No.
You know, for a couple of the new members, just a quick, you know, fiscal services is responsible for everything related to fiscal at the county, with the exception of cash handling and investments. That's all handled by the treasurer's office. We do all the accounting, we do all the reporting, we do all of the, you know, keeping an eye on stuff. More importantly, we do all the grant compliance, the billing, the rate analysis, we track all the capital assets. All of those things are part of what we do in our day-to-day operation. And, you know, we've been doing things the way they've been done for a very long time, and I think the people who've been around this table with me a few times know that's not really my favorite way to do stuff. So, you know, I think that we should be really proactive in our approach to how we're doing stuff, and we have been so reactive just because of our staffing levels. I do wanna point out, there's a memo attached, and in the memo, I made a mistake, so I do wanna correct that. About halfway down the first page, under key challenges facing fiscal services, the memo states that fiscal services has experienced a reduction of 6%, while the county has experienced an increase of 20%. That's the other way around. So fiscal services has experienced a 20% decrease in our staffing since 2001. The county as a whole, including parks, you know, water resources, has experienced a 6.8% increase in staffing. So we're the support for all of those programs. So it's kind of lopsided since we've been taking these reductions and everybody else is growing their programs. The other thing that I've done in the memo, I also wanna say, Parks has grown, staff, this is staffing levels only, full-time staff. Parks has grown 34% and WRC has grown 18% in staffing. So that is, those are the big pieces of the growth in the county. We have, let's see,
He's skeptical.
every one of you should be. That's why I'm sitting here. That's why I cleared my next out. I've outlined a couple things that have happened since 2001. We have new projects, we have new funds, we have Oakland Transit, that's new. We brought that on, we set up that program. We overheard a conversation just a few minutes ago about how successful that is. We never add accounting staff to handle that. We have the Housing Trust Fund. We didn't add accounting staff to handle that. We have the opioid settlement, which is money that's coming in. There's intense reporting for that because it's all lawsuit. It's gonna be for the next 25 years. We didn't add accounting staff to handle that. So we're kind of trying to fill in spaces where, oh crap, I gotta do that report today. So that's how we're being reactive and not proactive on how those things are happening. Major projects we have going on. We all know the Pontiac project. WRC is at capacity, they're looking for a new building, they're expanding immensely, they're doing a lot of stuff with our water infrastructure. We haven't added any accounting staff to help support the grants that they're getting, and my staff is like climbing the walls because they're really struggling. Sheriff billing and reconciliation, all I'm gonna say is that when we went through those rate analysis this year, we promised the CVTs that we were going to do a reconciliation and make sure that we're not overcharging them based on actual charges. That's gonna take me a whole person, and we talked about that. It's one of the things that we sort of agreed to in the resolutions as we put it together for those sheriff contracts. And the Parks millage doubled. The Parks is doing a lot of grants. They're receiving, as you heard, they're receiving a lot of grants, the Ducks Unlimited. We have not added any grants, people. We also have the ARPA grant, which is basically being handled by 2 part-time people. So that's not a person that's coming on and then when ARPA dollars are done, that person is gone. We're already handling that with 2 part-time people. But the structure of that and the overseeing of that is still being handled by my grants team and myself and the chief deputy county exec. I've got 5 new departments listed. Indigent defense is something that we're growing. I wanna say they've grown like 30 or 40 people, because it's something, again, we're getting dollars from the state, but we're creating new work, so yeah, let's bring these people, but we haven't added any support staff. Diversity, Equity and Inclusion is a new office. Office of Sustainability is a new office. We've just developed in the last budget round. Capital Planning and Design is a new office, and the Department of Public Communications. So, there's a lot of stuff going on, which is great. But every time someone comes to the table and we approve a new project, we're not thinking about the support of that project when it comes to my team. My team is exhausted.
First, use the button.
My team is exhausted. My team is, you know, like I said, the biggest frustration for them right now is we're not allowed to be proactive. I'm not allowed to tell someone, go ahead and spend a week learning this new product, trying to figure it out, and then we'll figure out how it's gonna work. What we're doing now is like, just put a Band-Aid on that thing and go to the next one, because we just don't have the staff. And with the recent UAW contract, we approved 5 more days for those people off. So what that means is my staff of 100 now got 5 more days off. That's every one of them. So it's not a financial impact to the county, but it's more lost staff time. So what I'm proposing, towards the end of my memo, you'll see there's an annual cost request. And I've talked to water resources, and I've also talked to parks. So one of those positions is gonna be charged completely to water resources, because they're gonna be helping with grants and helping with some of their new accounting needs. One of those positions is gonna be charged fully to parks, so they're gonna help parks again, so I can get all the grants under my area, so we can make sure that we're in compliance and doing things appropriately with the grant dollars, so we don't lose them. And then I have the 3 positions will come out of general fund primarily, but there's gonna be some chargeback to opioid for the opioid stuff that we're doing, to transportation for the transportation stuff that we're doing, because those departments are getting like significant tax dollars to support that program, but fiscal is still supporting like our end of it, so we're gonna try and make sure that some of those costs will come back out. So it looks like general fund for the 25, the 244,000 is 9 months. So it's if I get people in place in February, then that's 9 months of, stop laughing. That's,
Good luck.
I know.
But I haven't something that fast.
That's okay, I'm good, cause we've been, I'm gonna address that in a second. 26 is 343, and this is all inclusive, this is wages and fringes. And then 27 will be 358, and again, that's just the most the hit can be to the general fund, because we are gonna carve some of that out and charge it back to some of these funds. We're also working with Brian and talking about ways to help make sure that the admin fee that we get from some of our grants is also starting to support this for keeping track of the grants and making sure the reporting is right and doing all of those things. Obviously, you know, it's important because we need to stay transparent, we need to stay up on our reporting, and we need to make sure that we keep our bond rating intact by making sure that we're not making mistakes and that we're, you know, that I know that I wasn't here when you did the WRC staffing thing, but it's important for me to keep my staff too. So I've just interviewed for 2 accountant positions. I did 12 interviews. I have 5 rock star candidates. And we haven't made any decisions because I'm waiting for this, because I have already done the recruiting process. And I believe that I can bring some of these people on by the middle of February. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm sure you only have a couple. We're here for answering questions, and if I miss something, just let me know.
Okay, first of all, I would like to encourage my committee members to use the request to speak button, okay? Secondly, I have been reminded by our staff that every little conversation can be heard. So let's try and keep the side conversations down, because to the general public, they're hearing everything, and we're trying to focus on who's at the end of the table, so. With that, I will open it up to whoever has questions for Ms. Johnson.
Put my name in the list.
I usually
Oh, I'm
ask.
gonna
Yeah.
have to refresh and
Yeah.
see.
Yeah,
It's not shown on mine.
Oh, I think me and then Mike, I think it says on
Okay,
mine.
well, we'll start with Commissioner Long and
I
then
think.
Commissioner Spiz.
Oh, now it says none on mine too, you're right. I was on there though, but, alright,
I'm gonna do it again.
you doing yours again? So I did do that, so
Okay.
cause I think that's supposed,
7.
yeah, 407?
Yeah.
407, okay, I had it on my calculator, but it went off. And then, so it's not cheap positions, but, and then my other question was gonna be, and you kind of answered it, are we recruiting from outside? But it did kind of seem like, yes, they're not in-house positions, someone transferring. But another, just an interesting fact, I kind of find it interesting that you already interviewed before you came to finance, just a little.
No, let me clarify if I may. So I have 2 positions that are open because we do have people internally, I have people
That
that
are
have been
already
moving
accountants.
around.
Okay,
And so in my grants area, I have an accountant position available.
okay,
And so we posted for that and we had
Okay.
12 people that we really felt qualified to interview. And in the new UAW contract, if one UAW member applies for the job, you have to interview every UAW member that applies for that job. So we ended up with 12 interviews. It took
Okay.
us almost the entire month of December to go through and several hours.
so that was for one accounting position,
Yes.
what department was that?
In fiscal, that was
Okay,
in our,
that someone left, someone left it and it's
Yes, in our
open.
grants area, we had the grant accountant who was handling some of the sheriff stuff, she moved over to the accountant position in IT and capital.
Okay,
So that created an opening, so
Okay.
we posted for that position. And I was so pleasantly surprised, cause we have not been getting a lot of really good candidates. We have people from some accounting firms, we have a couple CPAs, we had a lot of really solid people that
Some
Um,
master's degrees.
yeah,
Okay.
some really good candidates that like I
that
said.
makes me feel better that you didn't interview before this
Oh,
came
no.
here. So,
No.
alright, thank you, that's my questions for now. My point.
Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please bear with me. I'm kind of learning on the fly here too. I've been here long enough to know enough to be dangerous, but some of the departments, I don't know the inner workings, so I may ask some questions just to learn them.
Absolutely.
From an org chart standpoint, can you share one of those with us in a future?
From a what?
Org chart. Can you send us an org chart? Because you said 100, but then you're down 20%. And so I'm just trying to get a feel for the size of the group.
So we have Brian, myself, Shannon. Under Shannon are 4 chiefs. I have a chief of budget, which is vacant right now. I have a chief of like proprietary funds, so that's the IT, the water resources, all of the outside stuff. I have a chief of reimbursement, which is the reimbursement staff that is over here that does the collections for the courts. That's about 20 people. So there's a supervisor and a chief over there. And I have
A chief of everything else.
a chief of everything else, which is what Shannon was, and that position is still vacant. So the reason those are vacant is I'm getting ready to post those next week because we were tweaking those job descriptions to make sure that as we move forward. So under the IT or the proprietary chief, I have facilities, parks, and IT and
WRC.
WRC. And then I also have some people who do accounting that do both accounting and the budget stuff. Those people, they do like the airport, motor pool, they do the internal service funds. So I've got that group, that's about 5 or 6 people. The IT group, that's probably about 7 people, no, that's probably about 10 people. The chief of everything else has got like my IT staff, I call them IT staff, but they're my tech gurus.
Mhm.
They're handling the Workday implementation, the adaptive implementation, all those like, crap, I need a report. I've got about 4 of those people that do that. And then the budget team has 5 budget analysts, 2 budget coordinators, a supervisor, and then that'll be a chief too.
Anyway, I can get that like a straw man diagram.
Absolutely.
I don't necessarily need the names of everybody, but I'd like the top 1 or 2 levels of
Yeah,
names.
yeah,
that would
I've got,
work.
I've got,
I don't wanna fight through Workday to figure it all out.
I've got, no, not necessary.
So I appreciate that, because I mean, I'll be transparent, I wanna take that org and compare it to some of the private sector org, just based on rough sizes, right? Just to see the amount of monies we're handling compared to what they do in the private sector, are we equivalent, are they higher, are we lower, just so I get a good feel of where we're at,
I
right?
can tell you where I think we are, but I'll let you figure that out on your own.
I appreciate that. Now, second question is, Do we do all the fiscal services work for Parks and WRC? All of it? Or do they have their own?
We do, well, right now, we do the bulk of it. So I have a team that works over in Parks, they report up to me, and they handle like the accounts payable, the accounts receivable. The reason I say that we're not handling all of it is because Parks is kind of doing their own thing with grants. It's not going well. So we need to bring their grant piece, cause they were just doing what they were doing for grants, they didn't understand that there's a process to kind of follow to go through grants. So that's part of what I'm bringing in-house,
So
to make sure that we're doing grants.
in general, you do manage everything for Parks and all the fiscal requirements go
Yes.
through you guys no matter what.
Yes,
They may
yes.
have people in there,
And we
under
have
their
people
leadership,
processing
but they
invoices,
might do a little bit, but it all comes through.
but that
you.
all comes through us, we're responsible for all the reporting. That giant WRC drain equipment, but drain book that you see, my staff puts that together.
So, and my final question for now anyway, is why 5? Where did 5 come from?
So, one for Parks, one for WRC, one for sheriff. And that person is also gonna handle the safer communities piece where we have to bill out for stuff. And then 2 positions, just kind of so our grants have been growing. My intent is to put one in grants and kind of be like a grant floater. So they're not assigned a specific area, they're actually just doing that. And the other one is gonna be under that catch-all area for general fund, and those are gonna be the things like the opioid reporting, the transportation reporting, and those kind of things. And it's just gonna relieve a little bit of the nonstop stress from the staff that I do have.
We have at this point in time, one fiscal staff that is kind of responsible for general fund. And as large as general fund is, we have one person that is doing that.
I'm sorry, I do have one additional question. My final question. Final question. How much overtime, if any, is the team working? Are they allowed overtime? Let me ask that.
They are allowed overtime,
Well,
and
how much overtime are they working?
it's cyclical,
WRC has had the most, or
The reason I'm
WRC
asking the question,
and
because 1, you can attribute the number of hours based if they're working overtime. 2, you can use that to offset that cost, because overtime is paid at 1.5% usually if.
Right.
So
the
you say, okay,
supervisory staff doesn't get overtime.
right,
And
but
so
everybody else
the
does.
general fund person is a supervisor, so
So these account 3s would be supervisor level?
no, they
No.
won't, they'll get overtime.
Okay, so that's my question is compare the overtime that we're paying out today compared to the 5 heads, how does that work?
I don't have that handy, I do know that, so for us, it's cyclical. So when we start getting budget time, like in June, I tell people you can't have any time off, we're focusing on the budget, and I need you to be available on Saturday. At the end of the year, or at the end of the audit, Shannon we're gonna be in the war room, is what we call the conference room, and we sit in there for 12 hours a day and try and get things cranked out. So there is a lot of cyclical overtime because some of those times are busier, we're trying to crank out a budget, it's busier, I don't
Yeah,
need an
fair.
additional person for that. But I'll get you the number for overtime, I do have, like, I know my person who does expenses works a lot of overtime. I have my water person was working, I wanna say like 300 hours of overtime a year. My accountant that was doing and that makes it difficult for me to make sure that they're having work-life balance as well.
That's fair. This might be a big ask, but I think you can do it. Can I get a trend chart for the year?
Yep.
With overtime by month?
Yep.
Thank you.
All of us would.
Dicey.
Oh,
All of his requests, can we get that
Yes,
to all committee
absolutely.
members?
And I do wanna say that is probably gonna change for 25 because of everybody getting 5 more days of PTO time. So I'm gonna take 2 days off now and
I
then I'm
understand.
gonna work
Alright.
3 more over there on
Yeah.
overtime.
I don't know if you have the ability to forecast. If you can do a forecast, that'd be even better. If you think you can forecast
I don't know
2025
if I
based on
can,
that,
I
that
don't know
would
if
be
I
good.
can forecast that, but I'll do my best.
Thank you.
they can also have
No,
on-call hours.
Earning that seat, aren't you? I like, this reminds me of
Bill was
EDI.
nicer. Yeah. Okay, is that all, Ms.
That's all for now.
Commissioner Spiz?
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
All right, let's see.
Is it showing up now?
Commissioner Cavell, I guess?
Yep. I just wanted to say, cause we do have a new person here, one, it's exciting that you wanna dig into overtime, cause we are millions of dollars in the hole, if that's the right phrasing for it, with the sheriff's overtime.
I knew
Want to begin with that?
I will
With
ask the
you?
same questions then.
Great, looking forward to
Got an
that.
outline.
Second, just wanna say to what Chris was, or
Talk to me,
Commissioner
Tom.
Long was saying about the interviews, we went through this, I think it was PHS, or maybe it was also finance, when Gaia and the sheriff had to put down one of those dogs, cause they bought the 15th dog before they got the funding to pay for the dog food, so then they had to put it down. They didn't have to put it down, but they fucked up.
Yeah, I remember.
And so just, thank you for
Took it out of
managing the
service.
order of operations.
Right.
She did it right, the sheriff
Just
did.
making, yeah,
Okay,
just
cool.
making sure,
Anyways,
yeah.
this looks great.
So are we
Excited for
talking
you.
to me or is he talking to the chair?
Anybody else?
Is that comment for me or towards the chair?
Through the chair.
Okay,
Through
just
the
want
Through the chair to Commissioner Spitz.
to appreciate that comment.
Commissioner Powell.
I'm just happy that we, I mean, we're looking at some options. Don't know if it, if it'll work, if it not, but just thank you because when people get burnt out, and we know since 2020 with COVID post that, there's been a lot going on in the workforce, and we are all overworked. So thank you, and we'll see how it goes. Speeds. Thank you.
Anybody else? So I just wanna say, having watched the process here the last 3-4 years, we've talked a lot about managing grants.
Yeah.
For the county. And we, at one point, we're going to add staff on the Board of Commissioners to manage all the grants that were coming in. And I think it was pretty much agreed on that it fits better in your department. So it makes sense to me that we need more staff to do that. I mean, we've all seen it. You've mentioned several of them, the opioid settlements and so on. And watching the grants that are coming in, we did all the ARPA, but there's still plenty of grants that are coming that we weren't getting before. And I think we even had an incident not too long ago where we kind of messed up on the grant compliance, and we don't wanna have that. We really wanna make sure that we know what we're doing, we know what money we have, where it's going and all that. So I think this is important for you to have the staff to do that. You are gonna have a budget amendment at some point.
Yes,
to-
it'll come in the first quarter report.
Okay. So that's just my comment. I think this makes sense. I mean, having worked with your department through the process this last year, and you really did a yeoman's job of supporting us, but there were ragged edges and holes in the system a little bit.
Absolutely.
So I think having more staff is gonna help resolve some of that. Commissioner Powell.
One thing you had alluded with this grant thing, also, I think us doing this, hopefully, it will minimize on any grants that we have not been able to fulfill. Cause I know in some of our departments too, we've lacked a staffer, so we can't use this grant. We gotta send it back. And I'm in nobody's business of sending any money back that we can get and use for services here. So we need to have the staff come on to manage that, or just have more eyes on it, then great. And one question I have is, I know that there was a couple in health department that they had to send back because they couldn't, they just didn't fulfill the staffing position. So in this fiscal, do you deal with their stuff too?
It does come through our process.
Oh, it do? Okay,
with
okay,
our grant
cool.
coordinator.
Okay, great.
Tiffany is our grant coordinator. Everything goes through Tiffany. All of the approvals that you see, it goes through Tiffany before it comes to you. And I
Right.
know there's some process people are working on trying to tighten that process up a little bit, so we don't have such a long lag between, oh, here's a grant, and we don't have the time to get everything together, but we're working on that as well.
Yeah, and then I wanna hats off to our HR because they've been trying to do better at hiring to fill these positions. So I know it's a coordinated effort moving forward, but I'm kinda happy to see this because we don't need to be sending no money back. We use this everything here in Oakland County. Thank you. Well, that's the goal, so thank you.
Commissioner Smith Charles.
Yes, and you got a little lineup. I merely, when I hear parks, it's like, I get sensitive. And so I heard something about parks and grants and they're doing their own thing. I'd like to just ensure that their own thing has been working well in terms of results. Now how the sausage is made, I don't know, but the results of it, they're doing great work, and I just don't want us to, in terms of like this central office, big brother, hey, we know grants better than you guys attitude to be put forth, because I know they work really hard, they do great stuff, and so just wanted to ensure that it's not like you guys have been doing everything wrong and now here we are to clean it up.
If I can clarify, they are being very responsive, and part of that is what I talked about earlier, we're going through the process to make sure that it's working. The problem that we have is we have our grants, we have a system for grants in Workday that keeps track of them, and at the end of the year, we have to fill out federal reports about our money and where we spent it. Parks isn't using the Workday system, they're kind of doing their own thing. And so when we pull that report, now we have to do extra work to go find those reports because our report is not complete. So it's just an informational, like they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a slam to Parks at all. It's just, this is a new area for them. And as we, prepare stuff for the audit, we're like, oh, wait, hold on, what's going on?
Yeah.
So that's part of that is why you're gonna see Brian or myself attending all the meetings, so that when there's a grant, we're aware, you guys are aware that we're aware, and we make sure that, no pun intended, our ducks are in a row while we're putting this together.
Did you feel Ducks Unlimited in my brain
I
just
did.
now?
I just
Okay,
did.
okay.
Absolutely. So, and I read through everything and I approve it when it goes into Civic Clerk, but a lot of times I approve it and then, we're all guilty. Then we go in and they make a change, or they go in and they add something. So, my job, as I see it, is to make sure that the people that sit around this table have the information that they need to make the best decision for the county.
Yeah.
And so that's all that we are trying to do, is make sure that information is clearer. And you're gonna see changes, and to Chairman Markham's point, you asked about the budget amendment. One of the things I wanna do is, this is very specific at the end of my memo. You can see how much is general fund, you can see how much is the different departments, you can see how much it's gonna be each year. I don't know that you guys need to see our actual form for a budget amendment. It's a lot of lines, it's a lot of information, and you don't need that information to make the decision. What you need is a graph that shows you the bottom line for each year and what's going on. Those are kind of the changes that I wanna make, so that you guys can make sure, I'm sorry.
Charts and graphs, I love
Charts and graphs, absolutely. And those are the kind of things that, you're gonna love the budget session, man. You're gonna love the budget
Yes, you
session.
are.
Great.
But those are the kind of things that, the additional staff are gonna help us with as well, not just filling gaps, but also, hoping the changes that I've been trying to bring to you to make things more palatable, because I recognize you guys aren't CPAs, you're not even accountant background people, it's my job to translate that, sorry. I don't know, maybe you are.
No, I'm not.
It's my job to translate that for you.
Engineers.
Engineer.
Okay.
Anybody else with any comments, questions?
I have a second one.
Oh, that's right, you're here.
I'm here a second
Commissioner
time.
Spitz, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanna ask a
Final,
question on top of Commissioner Powell's.
final,
Do we-
final.
Do we have a dollar amount on how many grants or how much grant dollars we've lost because we have been unable to support the request? Do we know that number?
No. We're trying to develop a report that shows us, cause I'm trying to figure out how much, like, how much are we getting supported
Big time.
Was that-
by those grant
Yes.
dollars?
You smell it?
Yeah, I'm getting a
Point of
headache,
order,
actually.
do you guys smell gas?
Yes,
Like bigly.
yeah,
Gas legally.
no, it's
I just
bad.
smell it.
Let's hurry and vote and get out of here.
Staff, gas, we
Sorry.
smell gas.
It's real strong,
It
real
is.
strong.
I don't smell
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I smell it a little bit too.
Oh, it's
Okay,
really
can we
strong.
wrap this up so we can get out of here? We don't know
We
what
get it.
that
You'll make
is.
a
Oh, nobody
report.
smokes, right? We'll be good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Watch what
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wrap us up.
So
Yeah.
just, because if we had that number, we could help use that to support a business case for additional heads to make sure we don't lose that. That's how I'm thinking.
I do out here, yeah.
That's
No,
in
it's a
here.
lot, it's a lot in here.
Mike, what's going on? We're freaking out.
We're calling facilities, we don't actually have an answer, if you want, we could recess or you could.
No, we're
Oh,
just
no,
finished.
we about to be done,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
done.
Hurry up.
We passed out, done, but we'll be voting before we pass out.
Recording back.
Okay, Spears was on the floor, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's let Commissioner Spitz have his questions and then we'll.
Yep, so you answered
yeah.
just from, just going forward, I'll ask a lot of questions similar to this, you know, from a business case perspective, health support, if we need additional heads, why, and is there a business case of support because we're losing this money or we're not getting this, or we have so much overtime, a lot will be on the same lines going forward.
And I think
across
the other
board.
thing, I'm sorry. I think the other thing that you'll see with, when we are not having to be so reactive, you're gonna see, cause what we did in the budget hearings last year is the first 5 pages were graphs. We put those, and every department had to bring those graphs to your budget hearings and cause it's so much easier to see what's going on when it's graphical than a giant number.
Yep, fair.
Just carve out the second and third week of August.
I'm gonna camp here, I'm gonna put my tent right outside
That's
here.
about right, that's about right.
Does
One
feel
more,
like it.
Commissioner Cavell.
I just wanna say, since you're new and you're asking all these great questions, housing is 100% funded through HUD. So one, not only could they be in line for a cut, but also they're one of the people that has to work with CDBG and all the other communities, so they need lots of help with staffing and making sure that they're implementing. And the second thing is the health division is 2/3 funded through federal grants. So again, there's other things that might be on the horizon. And they need lots of help too, because last year, as we all recall, the sheriff got $1 million in new grants and general fund support. And then right after that, Leanne from the health department came on the screen and told us she was cutting the STD prevention, HIV prevention position in the teen youth suicide outreach position. She was erasing those jobs. So just when you see stuff, look out for that. I will.
If everybody's comfortable, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Very uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of the topic.
You can crack a window. That'll-
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Do these open?
Yeah, they do, bounce it.
Oh, yeah.
We don't allow fiscal windows to open.
All right, motion carries. Next up, we have our, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our
Did that
public
pass?
comment. 3 minutes, if somebody wants to come before us,
Did that
now's
pass?
the time.
Yeah.
You're done.
Okay, thank you.
Nice work.
No, you're done.
Right.
I'm done.
Yes, you passed, thank you.
Dismissed. Thank you for your
Nobody
support.
for public comment, I'll close public comment, is there any other business?
I have a quick thing.
Oh, Charlie.
Just a quick thing. You're making it take
Commissioner
longer. The jail is having a graduation for people who learned how to do like surf safes. It's at noon, so hopefully see you there.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate it.
No other business, I call this meeting adjourned.
Megan, I wanna talk.